if all the right side decisions which are forming a part of a typical implementation of a business model with all this strategy, if they are going to relate to my cost measurement on the left side, if my strategic issues are going to be answered by my cost measurement on the left side, then I am starting my journey from cost measurement to cost management. Please register this as a part of your second block, where we are establishing a fact that competitive frameworks today require a well-structured cost information on various markets, and if the cost measurement mechanism starts addressing these questions of a cost competitive strategy, then we are making the journey from a simple cost measurement to a strategic cost management. Now, at this second point of my building block, just keep this information posted in your mind, and now turn to the third block. What is happening in the field of costing or management accounting, as it is called, cost and management accounting? Is this field responding to these issues? Or people like Mr. Raman, whether they continue to be cost accountants, just preparing some statements and giving it to the management, reducing the cost of a manufactured product, or are we realizing it? Is there anything happening in my field which is seamlessly integrating into the block 1 and 2 what we just now presented to you? Look at that, exactly what I want to present. The evolution of cost management can be made into 3 or 4 major areas. There is a phase prior to 1825. There was a phase between 1825 to 1925, and between 1925 to 1975, and after that there are 2 more phases. So, what did cost management do at that time? Whether the cost and management practices were there, or I am telling something new. If you look at 18th century or 19th century, elaborate cost information was not required like the way we talked a few minutes back, because the proprietor himself was the manager, and the proprietor controlled this process simply through an eyeball control, by looking at the processes, by staring at his workers, by having a stern look at their face. I could achieve control of the processes because it was under my eyesight. I didn't require elaborate cost information at a strategic level, but very simple cost data on the production. This was the era where the costing systems were absolutely simple and nothing great structure was involved. Then came the phase of industrial revolution, where people started building big plants. That is, large scale plants where people wanted to reap the economies of large scale production. They wanted to set up capacities, and they started looking at automating processes, and they started developing industrial engineering standards. Have you heard of the words such as standard cost, marginal cost, break-even point? You heard of all this? What is the common theme in all this? What is the definition of a break-even point? Break-even point is defined as that level of capacity in which the revenues and costs are equal. So in every definition of the costing subject and management accounting subject which evolved in the second phase, if you look at who is the hero of that, what is the central part of that concept? If you peel the banana and find out what is hidden inside, capacity will be the center of all the issues. Because in that era, setting up huge capacities was the order of the day, because the world required it. Till 1975, the world required huge capacities, huge solutions, mass production of cars, mass production of vehicles, mass production of cement. Everything was driven by scale. So the entire costing subject came up because of that, was also focused on capacity related. And that is how we got into subjects like definition of a break-even point or a standard cost based on industrial engineering standards. So all these developments came as a result of capacity. Then came the phase of what is called the external reporting requirement. We as accountants, Mr. Raman or Mr. Hanif or any other accountant of any country in SAARC is very fond of compliance complying with laws. We are proud of our role of signing balance sheets and profit and loss accounts because statutorily the law has asked us to do that. So the legal influence played a very major role in the shape of cost and management accounting in the third phase. So we were taught how to prepare the value of the stocks, how to value the stocks, how to value this particular product, how to value the work in progress. So the third phase of cost and management accounting, what we learned all these years, was driven by complying with the legal requirement in different countries. But now comes the change. From 1980 onwards, ever since Michael Porter started giving this frameworks, what started hitting the cost and management accounting? The cost and management accountants wanted to understand what is the impact of value judgments on my cost? What is the impact of life cycle on my cost? I just want to touch on this example to make the story a little bit interesting. What is the impact of life cycle on my cost? Have you heard of this vehicle called Ambassador? When I was a student like you, or 30 years back, 25 years back, or 30 years back at least, holding an Ambassador car was a pride of possession in India. And the father would proudly hand over his Ambassador car to his son. And son would proudly hand over the same Ambassador car to the grandson. So when the cars and the products will have to last longer, let us say for 3 generations or 20 years or 30 years, the design of the product was very sturdy. The technology going into that was very sturdy. The materials going into that was of a different culture or origin altogether, the design altogether. But today, the life cycle of the products are not that long. There are mobile phones which die within 3 months. The two-wheelers like scooters and motorcycles, unless as a part of the competitive strategy of two-wheeler companies in India, like Hero Honda, or Bajaj, or TVS Motor, if they don't bring models, refreshed models once in 3 months in the market, then you lose your competitive strategy. So I need to keep my life cycle of my models, not for generations, but keep it small. So when I have to design my product for a lower life cycle, it will have an impact on my cost structures. And hence, my way in which I understand the cost will have to change when the life cycle of the product falls. This is true of not only the life cycle, of various aspects I have mentioned here. Because of the emergence of strategy, evaluating strategy and controlling strategy became important. Because of market-specific, product-specific branding, brand management and brand management costs became important. The design of a product was into a market segment. For example, if one of the two-wheeler companies in India started introducing a two-wheeler product for 20-year-old teens or about to enter beyond 20, girls going for colleges and working girls, for them, specific two-wheeler was introduced. Now the selection of the color onwards, it was researched and felt this particular market segment required pink. So a pink orientation, a design of the guards and other things which will help women drive a two-wheeler, and finally, including the branding of the product, it was done through, you might have heard this actress name, Preeti Zinta. So Preeti Zinta was the brand ambassador for this particular product aimed at a women's segment. So the brand management became very, very important, and how to understand the brand investments going on in this, and is my product is my strategy of entering this teens market of 18 to 22 segment and introducing a product for them including branding, does it make profitability sense? If I need to evaluate it, accordingly I required a cost information system which was not addressed by this earlier era. Now I needed a different cost information which will address my brand management strategies and give me the relevant information. In this way, like the examples I gave you, whether it is brand management, whether it is distribution management, whether it is enterprise risk management, the content of the cost management and the way in which you get it started totally changing. And one important change which happened in this, in between you can see here, is the revolution which started taking place worldwide in service sectors. Today, in many of the emerging economies, service sector gives you more revenue than the manufacturing sector or the agricultural sector. So one of the important issues in service sectors, there is zero material cost. Everything is cost of technology. Whereas in the traditional costing, it is a material cost accounting which played a very, very major role. And now you have the service sector evolution, which totally says my material cost is zero, but I would like to know what is the cost of my technology, life cycle of my technologies. If I am going to refresh my technologies, how will my price my service outputs? So a host of different sort of issues started coming, which changes this pattern. The last development now I am coming to, I would like you to listen very carefully in this, is this latest, which is 2008 afterwards, where we went through a terrific global crisis, and now the industries are being told there is a new wave of what is called sustainable value creation. So sustainability is the basic platform in every industry today. If I have to put up a manufacturing plant, whether the power generation which I am planning, it is called sustainable technologies. Is it green? Is it going to reduce my carbon footprint? Am I going to bring down my greenhouse gas emissions? These are all the focus, and that is accordingly creating an imbalance in my cost structure. Now, how it is going to create an imbalance in my cost structure? It is going to contain not only the process cost, but all the support technologies which give me the green effect, whether they have been factored into my cost analysis, whether the customer is going to recognize this and give me a price. If not, how should I position myself in terms of value creation? Should I sell only to those customers who will recognize my green behavior? Should I look at only that market segment which will recognize my environmental friendly strategy? These are all the issues of an environmental and CR integrated process for which cost management is again undergoing a huge churn. And added to that is that companies today with the IFRS, the International Financial Reporting Standards, are facing a huge dilemma of how to realign itself. Arising out of all this, of the new models creating, the new business models creating new type of value, I would like to bring to your attention that the cost and management accounting is undergoing 6 types of churns or fundamental shift they are happening. Number 1, in terms of ownership. This is a very, very careful block. Please listen to me very carefully. You will miss the link now if you don't align yourself on this. Second is the content. Third is the frequency of usage. Fourth is the life cycle orientation of cost analysis. Fifth, I need to look at a business process cost and not a cost center cost. Linkage of the new tools and techniques, and finally, I need to do all this by integrating with the IT. Now this 3 plus 2, 5, 7 drivers of change are making fundamental havoc in cost management. I just want to touch only on one on this to make you understand the depth of change which is taking place.